Good evening, welcome along to TGP2 Season 32, Rounds 5 and 6, Week 3 of the new TGP2 season on F1 22. I'm Jean-Luc Taylor and tonight I'm joined by fellow TGP1 racer and full-time TGP1 champion Dan the Man. Good evening, Dan.
Hello, John. Good evening. Yes, so we're getting ready then to go for rounds 5 and 6 around 3. First of all, around Miami. First time TGP2 gets on. Hopefully you can hear us.
I've had confirmation that it is all good, we are heard. So we had a little bit of an issue when we did the test to make sure we could be heard. It's all fixed now and we are loud and clear for everyone as we are on board with a couple of new drivers tonight. We've got Luna Pop in the Aston Martin, currently in 7th place, looks like he's on an in-lap, and in P12, already retired from the session unfortunately, is Barsam 932. It's a bit of a sibling night here in TGP2 as Barsam is brother of Parsa and Luna Pup is brother of Jack Craig, who obviously commentated last night for TGP1. So a few new faces, but known to some of the others.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got no championship leader Dom with us then today. He is not with us. He does have a 14-point lead in the championship over Sully Michael, who is currently in 5th place right now because he is starting his final lap. So is Cena, who is 4th in the championship. And John Menzies in 3rd on pole right now. So he's just getting underway with his final lap as well. And Jake Davis, who's in 2nd, has gone for the spin.
Meanwhile, we're just on board with Daniel Peel-Warnock, who's just got himself up to P2, displacing Jake Davis, who's just recovering from his spin now. Let's go on board with John Menzies and then John 1874 HMFC, as his PSN username is, currently on pole. He's had good pace in qualifying so far this season, hasn't quite got it into results. He's gone purple in sector 1, so he's improving. I thought he ran a little wide, just coming onto the back straight here, but it looks like he got away with that, so that's fortunate for him. We've got yellow flags in sector 3. It looks like a Mercedes just getting out of the way as Mr. John Menzies, comes into this tight, twisty middle sector. I don't like this part. This particular chicane, very, very clumsy. And you can see the Aston throwing itself around trying to get round, and he's backed it off. He's lost a little bit of time, but that's him done for the session. And
I don't think we've got many improvements right now because we almost is a second down. Jake obviously spun. Cena's coming to the pit lane. Sully's coming around the final corner now, but he's also way off it. So of course they're all going to have one more chance. Of course, you've got a minute left in the session, so you all have one more chance to get a lap. And apart from Cena, of course, who has pitted, he'll be starting no higher than 4th. We'll see what the other guys can do. But of course, without Dom being here tonight, it's a huge chance for Sully to take the lead of the championship.
Indeed, we're on board with Sully now, and then the only driver to win this season that isn't Tom Smith. Dom has only taken part in 3 races. I'm on all 3 of them. He's run wide there, and it gets away with it again. That's an interesting line. He's not the only one who's taken that line so far, but despite it being strict corner cutting, it seems to be allowed in some way. It does seem to give a bit of an advantage down the straight as we watch Sully down this straight now. Car in front's going to get out of the way. That's the Williams. That might be Jake, who is still recovering from his spin. Yellow flags are out just because of him, but that shouldn't be an issue for the Alpine driver currently on a lap. Makes it for the chicane. Oh, gets away with that.
Yeah, that line's so interesting because I could not do that yesterday. I just think always go off when I tried that line, but it's worked there that time round. For Speed Sully then, as Cena obviously retires from the session. Jacko has not improved. Baz has just improved up to 11th place, but Cena is going to be, Sully is going to be the next to complete a lap, and then Jake Davis will be just behind, I think. I know we've got Craig Gills on our lap right now as well. But here comes the Sully then. Can he take the pole position away from John Menzies? I don't think he will. In fact, he stays in 6th place. He didn't actually even improve the time.
Someone that is improving, however, is Jack Craig, currently in 7th. Looks like he could be getting himself a row higher on the grid as it stands. He is running very, very low on the air. He's doing harvesting as he comes to the end of the straight here. As your mic might need a bit of a turn up, Dan, from what I understand. As Jack Craig comes to the line, does improve indeed. He's not gained 1 row, he's gained 2. He's got himself up to 3rd position, so that's a great lap at the end for the Scotsman. Meanwhile, Lunapop, who is the brother of Jack Craig, is also on a lap of his own. I don't know whether he's improved or not at the moment, as he comes to this clumsy hairpin. I don't particularly like the exit, but Lunapop makes it through there safely, gets to the line, and steals pole position.
That's it. Aston Martin 1-2. Lunapop then coming out of nowhere, sticking it on pole position. He hasn't raced in TGP for quite a while. We were just talking about him with Mike Noon before we got going, and he comes into the lobby late, but still manages to go and stick it on pole.
And I believe it's his debut as well, so that's a first race, first pole. That's a brilliant way to introduce yourself into the league. Spurred back then from Lunapop gets him pole position as the session is pretty much at an end now. No one else on the track, 7 lap times. So Lunapop will be on pole, John Menzies P2 and Aston Martin 1-2 as you said, Dan. Then you've got Daniel P. Wilmot, the reigning champion, P3 ahead of Jack Craig in 4th. Jake Davies in 5th, and Cena rounding up the top 6 as the qualifying now comes to an end.
John, and he probably thought he had that in the bag, and he's seen all his other competitors who of course he's been racing against for the previous 4 races fail to beat him, but then suddenly along comes Lunapop and pops it onto pole position after Aston Martin 1-2 there, which is not something you see every year.
Yes indeed, that's a great performance there for the Aston Martin cars. The British Racing Green will line up the front. So we'll go down the rest of the grid. We've already mentioned the top 6, only 4 tenths separating them. Then there was a gap to Blair Wheels in 7th, who jumped up near the end. Speed Sully, the only guy on the grid at the moment to have won this season, so that's here tonight. He's 8th ahead of Mike Noon in 9th, past the 10th. Bazza and Neljak on row 6, and Kyron Barsom making his debut on the 7th row of the grid. As we now wait for the start of the race.
Before we get going, John, you just need to turn down the audio a little bit because neither of us can be heard apparently.
Okay, so this is interesting because the setting was set to what we were told, but might be me being a little bit on the quiet side, so we'll get that sorted out before the start of the race. Apologies to everyone that's watching, that probably can't barely hear us, but yeah, we'll get that sorted for you before the race begins.
So we are expecting a dry race then, which I imagine will be quite a relief considering it's the first race around here in Miami. I know it looks very dark overhead, but certainly dry conditions were expected. Of course, the weather conditions is only set to approximate, so of course they could easily be a sudden rainstorm out of nowhere, but it looks as though we're going to be good to go for a dry race all the way through. And of course, they'll be deciding now if they want to start on the softs or the medium tyres. Hopefully nobody will accidentally start on the hards like Claude did yesterday, but it is an easy error for that to happen with the game. But anyway, we're all getting ready to go. The cars are lining up on the grid. I'm waiting for the 5 red lights then for the first time in Miami in TGP2. It's lights out. And away we go, and it looks like John might have got a better start there, but Luna gets a better second phase as they head down into turn 1, and is actually John going to be immediately attacked from everyone pretty much, but he manages to hold his line and hold second place. Jack Craig lost a couple of positions there. He had made a great start, but got squeezed at the corner, and is actually down into 6th place already then. It's Lunapop to keep the lead from John, then it's Wheelnut, Jake Davis, Cena in 5th. Cena traditionally gets good starts, but at this time round, he's only in 5th place as, Jake Davis then loses it, and that's allowed Cena to go ahead.
Yes, indeed. It looks like everyone got away cleanly off the line, which is good stuff to see. We'll show the tyres in a bit, but we're going to have cars fighting all the way down the straight here. The front 3 have got away very quickly, but we've got a good scrap here for 4th. We've got Cena, Jack Craig and Jake. You could just make those positions up that he just lost. They could even be 3 wide into the corner here. The Ferrari's gone for it. Jack Craig gone way too deep. I almost caught McLaren in front. Luckily, no harm done, but he has just lost 2 positions. Cena takes 4th, Jake is back to 5th. We do have a yellow flag at the back. I believe it's Stereogram, who's had a moment.
Yeah, I think Stereo got Kaya of the big losers from that race start, and particularly Kaya, who's lost 5 positions. But we saw Wheelnut nearly go for the move on John, but then suddenly out of nowhere came the Ferrari of Jack Craig, and he's actually lost a couple of positions because of that. But look at Jake Davis now wanting to get back on Cena after making that mistake early on. If he head on the brakes into this hairpin, you have to be so careful on the exit. It's easy for the car to spin. He briefly did touch there, but he just about stays ahead Cena. But Jake gets a great exit and actually has the position now. But then Cena has the inside line as they head into turn 1, and they're going to be side by side all the way through. On the brakes then goes Cena. He's on the medium tyres as well, Cena, and he keeps 4th place.
Yeah, tyres are briefly on the screen for all to look at. A big mix of mediums and softs, but there was one car I noticed in the top 10 on the hards, and that was Nailjack down in P10. So we've got a AlphaTauri off at the back. That looks like Barsang.
We've got a few cars pitting as well. Jacko, Stereogam, Kaya, Baz, they're all pitting. But look at John Menzies. He's on the soft tyres, and he is charging now to get Lunapop, who's on the medium. The majority of the field really pretty much starts on the medium tyres, which is certainly not something I don't think we've seen in TGP1 yet. But John couldn't actually close in there on Lunapop despite having a good exit out the corner. The DRS of those will be enabled next lap, and it might make it a little bit easier for them. But look at Wheelnut also getting involved, closing in as well. There's a bit of a gap to Cena, about a second behind, although Cena was quick with the chicane there. But look at Jake Davis, who's even closer to him, nearly getting round again there. Those two have been at it since the very start of this race, as again the gap extends between Wheelnut and Cena. But can Jake Davis have a go here? Look at this. Jake Davis has pretty much burnt his ERS up already in this race. We're only on lap 2. Will he be late on the brakes in Sem 1 here on Cena? Cena goes a little bit wide, and it's basically a replay of the last lap. But Cena once again manages to stay ahead just about. DRS will now be enabled though for these guys.
As John sets the fastest lap of the second lap, Jake possibly having a look down the inside into turn 1. Doesn't really have the room to do it. We've got a collision at the back, I believe, between Blair Grills and Indecisive. And Jake goes down the inside there. That's a brave move, touching the curbs. They're backing wheels. It's like bumper cars between these two, but they get in away with it. Cena holds the position for now. Jake clearly has more speed, but is it due to him just burning the ERS off early on compared to Cena possibly conserving it? Because we know the ERS is effective, but it can burn out quick and leave your defences later in the race. As we get to the DRS now.
Front of the field, you've got Johnny closing in on Lunapop. Lunapop is already out of VRS. John Menzies has got the DRS. He's going to be late on the brakes. It's difficult to overtake into this corner. It's a bit deceptive on the inside, but John Menzies has made that stick and is in the lead. The race, Lunapop nearly losing it. And it did Wheelnut maybe touch him there. I didn't quite catch that. But he would have done well to react to Lunapop's half spin there. And that's well, he's not even made the chicane legally there, Lunapop. Wheelnut is on the inside, takes a bit of curve into that corner. You don't want to do that, that will actually lose your time. And Lunapop, it's allowed them now to pull back away from Wheelnut, but all got a bit shaky there for Lunapop. John Menzies suddenly has a 2-second lead.
Yeah, that couldn't have gone any better for John. He made the move, got a clean exit and just got away already. It looks like Lunapop's trying his hardest to stay ahead with trying to break the DRS early on with the ERS, but Wheelnut now makes the move.
Wheelnut is into second place then, but will Lunapop immediately want to get back at him? He's got the DRS from that overtake and into turn 1. It's only a short DRS zone, but they've actually touched there, Lunapop and Wheelnut. But I think Wheelnut, well, should be okay. Don't think Lunapop will have any damage either, but this is fantastic for John Menzies. He's on no soft tyres, and he can just try and pull away now and set a few quick laps in clean air to hopefully pull some sort of gap before he makes his pit stop. He will be desperate to win this race to catch up to Dom in the championship then. But let's see what happens this time around through that such a difficult, long, never-ending left-hander. But if you get the exit right, you'll have a great advantage on this long straight as the DRS gets enabled. And Lunapop, I don't think he's really close enough for Wheelnut this time round. Is Jake Davis going to be close enough to Lunapop? I wonder. No, they're all going to be lying stern, then he's heading to the corner. Cena, meanwhile, falling back a little bit here, and Jack Craig is actually quite close to him now at this stage.
Yes, looks like Daniel Wheelnut may have just had the ERS advantage, and that just allowed him just to use it as defence down the DRS straight. And we're going to see it again here. DRS open on the Aston Martin, none for the McLaren, but the gap it's coming down, but it's not coming down that quickly. I think there's just the ERS advantage to Daniel Wheelnut. I look on the steering wheels, it's a 40% for the McLaren, so not a lot, but it's better than 5% that the Aston had, and Jake into the pits.
Yeah, it's an early stop that for Jake then. That's lap 4 really, end of lap 4. Jake Davis coming into the pit lane then to get rid of those soft tyres, and he'll hope for a bit of clean air on the mediums then. But racing didn't, I have to say, John, I am quite amazed at just the rate that some of these drivers have been through the DRS already, and it's hard to recover it around here as well.
Yeah, with the long straights, not many hard braking zones. It's once it goes, it's kind of it, really. You don't really get it back at all, and a lot of the guys maybe just overexcited and burning it through. Meanwhile, Speed Sully not made the best of starts, but he has just made a good overtake on Neljak for P8. Although, isn't that tactical thinking on Neljak's part to get the DRS here and to try and retake the position? It's
just we've got a yellow flag out, and who is that now? I thought that might have been Jake Davis there, but it wasn't. Jake Davis is on those fresh medium tyres, and he is in clean air, and we'll see if that works for him once the rest of the guys make their pit stops then. But certainly the guys who started on medium, which is pretty much second to 6th place, they're not going to be pitting for quite some time. We'll see when Menzies comes in. Actually, that lead was actually reduced slightly from Wheelnut in 2nd place, so it's not necessarily come down a great deal, but it's fairly stagnant at the moment. But I think John Menzies will be happy at least to accept that gap of 2.5 seconds. Will anybody come into the pit lane on this lap then? No, they will not. They will all continue round as we begin lap 6 of this race, and Jake Davis is really going to be the man to watch once all these pit stops are made. Mike Newton now comes in then to get rid of the soft tyres. He's the next driver to come in. Let's just mention Speed Sully, of course. So as you say, the only other driver other than Dom to have won a race so far this season, but he's not doing too well around the streets of Miami, is he?
No, it's not been the greatest of races so far for Speed Sully, and I'm surprised Mike hasn't made his way through the field as well as pleasing as, because he's normally somebody who can charge through quite quickly. He shows good pace. It's just an effort of consistency that tends to be the greatest flaw for Mike. But here we are then with Jack Craig.
Yeah, Jack Craig is going to have the DRS here, and there is a yellow flag. I think that might be Mike Newman might have spun come out the pit lane. But Jack Craig side by side with Cena now as they're about to hit the brakes, and it looks like Jack might have this move done. Cena, he briefly makes some contact. Cena made a lot of contact in this race, but Jack Craig has the position, has the 4th place then. They're both on medium tyres. It's a legitimate move position there. And Neljak also on the hard tyres was putting Speed Sully under pressure there. So Neljak obviously would not have intended to have started this race on the hard tyres. That would have been a mistake. He wouldn't have probably realised that the game for him on that. But he's actually doing quite well on them. It's not disastrous. Makes you wonder what he could have done if he started on the mediums or the softs then. Up at the front, we've got Cena and Jack Craig going side by side once again here. Cena goes back through. Jack Craig late on the brakes. Are they going to touch? This is exactly like what it was earlier with Jake Davis as John Menzies pits the race leader. These two are side by side. Oh, Jack got a bit too much of the curve there and nearly went for a spin.
Yes, luckily for Jack Craig, just keeps it out the barriers, keeps it pointing the right way, no damage to the car. So of course, as we said, John is in. Speed Sully's also pitted. Luna Pop, the first of the front runners to get a time penalty. I believe that's for track limits, so it's a 3-second penalty added on for him.
Well, here's John Menzies coming out the pit lane. I think Neljak
we've got a Ferrari off
just in front of them. Yeah, Neljak's just spun in front on the hard tyres, but John Menzies comes out then, and crucially for John, he comes out just ahead there of Angel versus Death. He would not have wanted to get held up by him. So John is going to have to try and bring those tyres up to temperature without losing a position to Angel versus Death. He nearly lost it there, and actually he's just gone off the track slightly, but he will hope not to lose the position to Angel versus Death.
Here comes Parser.
Parser now gaining on Jack Craig. So Parser's now bringing himself into this battle. He might be about to battle with his good friend Cena anytime soon. And, well, a lap ago, Jack Craig made the position here to get past Cena, and now he's lost 2 positions.
Yeah, Parser's quietly been making his way up through the field during the pit stops. He's closed in on the gap between the battle between Cena and Jack Craig. He's got past one of them, but the other one is a bit further ahead now. Cena has just pulled away this lap. He's nearly 2 seconds clear of the car behind. Luna Pop's sticking well with Wilner, who's gone straight on.
Massively deep. What is he doing? He must just be totally distracted. He's gone way off the track. He's lost a lot of position. He's gone down to 5th place. Will he decide to just pit? No, he actually stays out. But I tell you what, he might have a nice run here, to be fair, on Jack Craig here. Got a yellow flag out, but that is from the instant pit, the back, I imagine. Is Wheelnut going to go for the position here to try and get back at least one position on Jack Craig? No, he cannot, but wow, was that maybe just a loss of concentration? What on earth could that be?
It looked like he just completely missed the braking zone and just tried to go into it wide, realised he was going towards the wall and just had to bail out and spin the car around. He's lost a lot of time. It's given the current lead back to Lunapop on his debut, but of course John and Jake, 6th and 7th position, they've already pitted, and the gap is only 14 seconds, so realistically I think they're the net 2 leaders at the moment. So it's a disaster for the reigning champion. It's just a very strange mistake to make. Under no real pressure. Well, there was a bit of pressure. The Aston Martin was there, but
Lunapop was gaining. He was going quite quick at that moment in time. He had DRS, but not under any. It wasn't necessarily a battle or anything like that. Just totally running off the track. Then absolute disaster for Wheelnut. But we'll see if he can make the positions back up here. But as you say, you've got John Menzies and Jake running in relatively clean air right now. These guys are all battling. Here comes Jack Craig now on Parser. Parser, as you say, was quietly making his way through the field. He passed Parser while Wheelnut went off the track and made up 2 positions in one corner, and he stays in 3rd place for the time being as Cena now comes into the pit lane. So he's the first of the medium runners to get rid of these tyres. And Wheelnut joins him, but Wheelnut gets a penalty as well, goes from bad to worse.
yeah, indeed. It's just not gone to plan for the McLaren. It was looking good early on the mediums. Pretty much the lead car at the mediums, 2nd place before John Menzies pitted, and now a 5-second penalty, a spin. It's all gone wrong, and he's probably going to be looking at struggling to stay in the top 10 perhaps with the penalty applied.
Well, Cena then is 4.5 seconds behind Jake Davis then on these soft tyres. He's going to have 5 laps to close in. Let's see if he can manage it. But here comes Jack Craig then coming back up on Parser here with the DRS open. He's got virtually no energy left, but then neither does Parser. And I think the Red Bull is just going to get to the corner first. He does indeed then. So it's 4.5 seconds the gap now out in front. But as you say, I mean, I'm pretty sure John is easily going to maintain the lead of this race once these guys all make the stops.
Yeah, I think he's quicker as well per lap compared to the cars ahead of him that get to pit. I think the gap's, it was 14 seconds. I think it's down to about just over 13 at this point. So he's making inroads on the 3 cars pretty quickly. So it's looking good for the Scotsman in the Aston Martin. Jack Craig as well, like, he just hasn't got that top end because he's not got any ERS left. I know Parser also has no ERS, they're both coming in together, so it's now a race in the pit stops.
Well. Oh, Parser was way too quick in the pit lane entry there and gets a penalty for his troubles. So Lunapop comes in, Parser, Jack Craig, top 3 all in then as it currently is, and there is John Menzies easily retaking the lead of this race. Now let's see what's going to happen with, I'm interested to see what kind of happens here with them with Cena and Wheelnut on the pit exit. Here comes Lunapop, and I think it might meet in the middle here, you know, with Cena, or certainly one of them might meet in the middle with Cena. Cena just gets out ahead of Parser, but look at Wheelnut in between Parser and Jack Craig. And actually, if we're not going to try and hang around the outside here, Parser on those fresh soft tyres, you would imagine he's going to be able to do this. Parser surely won't want to take the risk on the cold tyres, and he will let Wheelnut go through for the time being and gets his line horribly wrong through the S's there, and that will allow Wheelnut to pull away a little bit more then. But Parser on those fresh soft tyres now will be trying to get back at Wheelnut, who of course has his tyres already up to temperature.
Yeah, there's some big news at the front though. John has got himself a 3-second penalty, and Jake in second is within those 3 seconds. It just popped up during that battle between Parser and Wheelnut. I didn't want to interrupt as they were going wheel to wheel, but a penalty for John. He needs to get out of that 3-second window. He currently is by the tiniest of margin to Parser. I'm just clouting the wall there.
Well, he did. I think he did hit the wall Parser there, and I'd be surprised if he's managed to escape damage from that. That was a bit of a weird one, wasn't it? But he definitely did hit the wall. But continues on. So as you say, 3-second penalty then for John. 2.8 seconds is the gap. Oh, that's going to be really interesting to see how this goes then. Jake's tyres, of course, he did pit very early as Parser gets ahead of Wheelnut now then. Wheelnut's going to try and hang around on the inside. But I think Parser has actually got that move completed on those new soft tyres. Can Wheelnut strike back immediately then? He will enable the DRS and he will try and have a go down into turn 1. It'll be very difficult, although that looks a bit deep there from Parsons, so maybe he's going to make the corner still. But if we look, oh, this would be an audacious overtake. He was round the outside the previous lap. This time he's trying the inside. He nearly touched, he nearly gets
John's off! John's off!
John's gone off! John Menzies has spun out of the lead. He had the penalty, and now he's out in the lead of the race. He's managed to avoid the wall somehow, but he is going to totally lose a load of positions. Wheelnut and Parsons still battling. Parsons got off. Wheelnut makes the position. Oh, they're still side by side here. And Parsons now going to have DRS to immediately come back at Wheelnut.
And John's gone off again as well. It's all gone wrong for the Scotsman. Leading comfortably, gets the tyre penalty, then makes an error on the following lap. Spins himself all the way down the order.
Parsons got the position back then on Wheelnut. It's absolutely frantic couple of moments there. What an incredible lap 11 this has been so far. And Jake Davis has a 2.4 second lead, but of course he's on tyres that are now 5 laps older than Lunapop's on the fresh softs. So this is not over. Can Lunapop possibly catch up? Lunapop does have a penalty, of course. Cena doesn't though, and Cena's right behind.
Yeah, and here we are on board with Cena now. He's not going to be close enough to make a move on this lap. He's a lot later on the brakes though, closes up, but obviously the Aston will pull away on the exit. But could Cena just shape him up for turn 1? Can he get close enough? I don't think he will. He won't. He's 6 behind, but he's in a position here where if he can get past Lunapop quickly, could he have a late race charge up the win? Meanwhile, the fight for 4th continues on. Parser, Wheelnut and Jack Craig still sitting on the back of it. As it stands, Jack Craig will be the winner out the 3 because he doesn't have a penalty.
That spin from John then has totally changed the complexion of this race. There's a Parser going very wide there, and again around that corner, and Wheelnut will go through again, and this could just be a complete repeat of the previous lap because Parser's going to have DRS again, and you would imagine we'll almost certainly be able to get back through once he reached the corner. In fact, he don't even have to wait until he reached the corner. Parser's already got the position back, and Jack Craig will get ever closer then as Cena continues to get ever closer to Lunapop. So it's as you were then with those guys. Parser then back into 4th, Wheelnut 5th, Jack Craig in 6th place, 2.3 seconds the gap at the front. But of course, as we say, the penalty for Lunapop, Cena is going to have to try and make that move.
Yes, indeed, and on this lap, it looks like Lunapop just gained a little bit of time. Wheelnut very twitchy on the exit there. Onto the back straight here with the DRS. It's not going to allow Jack Craig to get close enough, as he's, despite using with the DRS, he's not using the ERS to try and close in. But it's all line astern now between these 3 in the fight for 4th. And there is a battle further down, perhaps, between Mr. John and Blair Grills, just to get into the top 10 here. So we haven't really focused too much.
Hang on, here's Wheelnut closing in here on Parser for 4th place, and he wants to overtake him earlier on in the lap this time. Not waiting until turn 7, but Parser goes deep. And, well, once again, are these guys going to go side by side through turn 3? No, Wheelnut gets a bit wide that time round, and Jack Craig gets ever closer to making up the position of third Parser. And Wheelnut do have penalties, don't they? I think are they both for speeding in the pit lane? They are. So Jack Craig essentially could just sit back and watch this battle because he knows he's going to go take both of them. Parser again running wide there. I'm starting to think that might be a bit deliberate, but to be honest, I don't think it's going to work this time round because Wheelnut will get the DRS and will surely get the position, and Jack Craig might well get through as well here. Not that it will matter though, of course, because as we mentioned, the penalties. Oh, he nearly touched it, nearly going into the wall on the straight there, but Wheelnut will surely outbreak.
Oh, there is contact.
Position. Parser tried to hang it around there. And of course these guys are battling position because they both have a 5-second penalty. Jack Craig will just not want to get involved in any sort of contact with them because he knows he's got these positions in the bag.
Yes, indeed. Meanwhile, the gap between first and second has come down by about a second in the last lap or so. I don't think it's going to be enough for Cena to do anything now as we're about to finish the penultimate lap. So it's looking good for Jake Davis to get his first ever GP2 win. But here comes Parser.
Just absolutely storming it way late on the brakes. He goes massively off, hits the wall, and Jack Craig goes through as well there. And well, again, it's incredible if he does not have damage after that. These cars are unbelievable. Some of the way they've got built, you hardly see any damage for light taps on this game, it seems. Although Parser's going to try and dive back down the inside now, and he's getting a little bit mad, I think, here, Parser. He doesn't necessarily have to go for that move because he's going to lose the position anyway, but maybe he wants one last go on Wheelnut before the end of the race if he can close in. Cena, meanwhile, is half a second behind Lunapop, but he knows he's going to have that second place anyway. and I don't think he's going to close in 2 seconds on Jake Davis in the next couple of sectors. That seems almost impossible. Parsa is over a second behind Wheelnut, so he's not going to be anywhere near DRS here. And if anything, Jack Haig is going to overtake him on the road here, let alone once we add the penalties onto the race then. So it's going to be, I imagine, quite a sedate end to this race after some frantic few laps leading up to the final lap, as Jake Davis just raised it. He's going to get a penalty there. It looked like he could have tracked me, but he doesn't. So it continues on, and it looks like he is going to take his first win of the season. Of course, usually races in TGP1, Jake Davis, but I think he got the game late, didn't he? So he's not totally up to speed yet where he would like to be on this game. We're going to have some moves further down the field here, but we're going to watch Jake as he comes through the final corner, and he's going to be the first winner of the TGP2 race in Miami. Jake Davis wins in Miami in the United States and is the third winner of this season so far in TGP2. Cena will finish in second, Luna Park will be third, Wheelnut fourth across the line, then Jack Craig will jump up to fourth, Wheelnut will be fifth, Parsa sixth, and Speed Sully, the other winner, taking part in this race from the season so far, can only manage a 7th place. I imagine Dom, if he's watching, will be quite happy with that, and John Menzies, the guy who is third in the championship and who we thought was probably going to take the win, only finishes in 8th.
Yeah, I had a bit of commentator's curse a little bit. I thought the action was done for a moment between 4th, 5th and 6th. Thought I'd have a look, show a battle further down because we hadn't seen much of it, and then immediately all started again. But that battle was between Blair Grills and Mr. John, and Blair Grills got the position in the end. It takes the 10th spot ahead of Mr. John. Now Jack was 12th. Jacko just holding off Indecisive Mackie for 13th place.
I don't know if Jacko was out of fuel there because he was coasting at the end of the lap.
Yeah, Spazza 15th. It's his 500th. I think it's his 500th race tonight as well. He's got a special gold helmet for the occasion. Not quite the golden performance he was looking for. 15th position outside the point. Angel versus Death in 16th. Barsam in 17th. And we just went for Kai to finish now in 18th. Only the one retirement, and that's Stereogram, who retired in the pits. So for a first time in Miami, a very tidy race in terms of reliability and people not crashing so much, so very well behaved by the field, some very, very good battles, but in the end, Jake Davies with his first TGP2 win, and I think a deserved driver of the day for him as well, as he secures the victory here in Miami for Williams, and I think he'd be very happy with that.
Yeah, I think he'll be delighted to get that win on the board. Then I assume Jake is going to be taking part in the entire TGP2 season, presumably. But I know he took part last week. But there we go then, on the top step of the podium here in Miami. First time in TGP2 history, and his name will go down in the books as the winner of this race as the Williams team celebrates. And the crowd have all come out onto the circuit. So that's the first race complete for the night. It's Cena who will get the extra points for fastest lap, by the way. He got a 1:30.2 there, but that was a frantic race, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed. So we'll give you a rundown of the order then. Jake Davis wins for Williams ahead of Cena in the Haas. Luna Pop rounds off the podium, which I believe is his debut as well, so a great job by him. Ahead of fourth, his brother Jack Craig in fourth. Reigning champ Daniel P. Wilnut takes P5 ahead of Parsa. Speed Sully, a quiet run to 7th, kept it out of trouble, just maybe didn't quite have the pace here, but he's getting some points on the board. John Menzies P8, he was looking good for the race winner early on until he made a mistake in the end of the first sector and it cost him a lot of time. Mike Noon, very quiet race for P9 for him. Blair Grills rounds out the top 10 ahead of Mr. John. Nell Jacko, a very quiet race in P13 ahead of Mackie. Bazza only P15, a difficult race for him. Angel versus Death P16. Barsam on his debut rounds off the finishers, and apart Kaya, who was 18th, and Stereogram, the sole retirement, retiring in the pits about halfway through the race.
So Dom had a 14-point lead in the championship going into that race, and I'm almost certain he will have retained it because Sully will only have picked up around about, I think it's 9 or 10 points. I think for finishing in 7th place in TGP2 under the Jose point system. So he is going to retain his lead then after this race, but of course we have still got Spain to come, which is coming up next. And of course we haven't actually had any wet running in this TGP2 season so far, John, and we did have a wet race yesterday here in TGP1, didn't we?
We did indeed. My race didn't last very long, unfortunately, but yeah, it was the first race on F1 22 for the league to have rain yesterday in Spain, and it was a very rare podium for reigning TGP Gran Turismo champ Court. He's first in 8 years, so it brought up a shock, and you just wonder whether, if it happens again, we get rain in Spain falling on the plane, could it throw up a surprise winner perhaps?
Yeah, it's a very, very, very good point. Well, we're about to find out then, as we'll be very quick to get going. You can see the timer at the top of your screen, and we'll get underway for this race around Spain. Of course, the qualifying session first of all. Now, am I right in saying, John, that we are going to have the safety car in this will be switched on for this race, won't it? Because it's not a street track.
I believe that is the case. That is the rule that TGP2 is going for this season, due to how the safety car frequently seems to just come after any sort of incident on street circuits. It was decided that the safety car would only be selected on for proper circuits, so purpose-built ones such as Spain will have a safety car available. So there is a possibility that if a car crashes in the race, there could be a safety car, but
and there hasn't actually been one yet in the TGP2 season, has there? In races where there has been a possibility. I think in Imola there was a VSC. There has not actually been a proper safety car yet, has there? So we'll see if that changes in this race. But just as TGP1 yesterday, it looks like it's going to be a dry qualifying session.
Indeed, looks like the sun is out in Catalonia as we begin the 18-minute qualifying session. Then, of course, all cars will be on the soft tyres. They all get full sets. Most might only go for 3 runs, save the 4th set for the race. Maybe they go on the mediums, switch to the softs. So they like to just have a set of softs saved, so they could just jump on a fresh set for the second stint in the Grand Prix. But the cars are all coming out, and we got the Aston Martin out first. Alfa Romeo rather out first. Don't go doing crofty stuff here. It's Mike Noon, the Alfa Romeo, first out them on a bright and sunny day as he rounds turn 3 at the head of the train.
Oh, it is going to be a dry race, by the way, but this is going to be interesting. It's going to be a real challenge here for the drivers. Of course, if Miami was challenging in terms of its
Unfamiliarity.
Yes. That's it. Of course, this is a track that's familiar to a lot of the drivers, or to pretty much all the drivers, but we have changed it slightly, Codemasters, on this game, or at least made it more challenging in terms of where you place the sausage curbs, and there's just certain corners and certain curbs that you don't really want to hit. In fact, I've already got a car that's just spun, I've just noticed there. At turn 9, Angel versus Death is already rotating around the circuit, and hopefully he doesn't get featured in that gravel trap there. And I think he's waiting for cars to go past. There we go. Nearly gets hit by a Williams and a Ferrari, an Alpine even.
And that was Sully and Neljak as well. That were the two that were just going through. So we're going to be on board with Mike. Let's just find him again. He's the first car as he begins his lap. DRS wide open. Do you want to take us for a lap of Catalonia here, Dan?
Well, if you have a look then into turn 1, there's the yellow curb straight away. You don't want to hit them, but sadly Mike Noon did. There's another yellow curb on the left there, turn 2, which you don't want to hit, which is a bit decisive. You can see, oh, there we go, he's lost it immediately through turn 3. And that is the second problem that I was about to say with this track. The tyre temperatures, especially with servicing carcass on, is going to make this a real challenge. So it's the curbs you have to be careful for, the new curbs that you've installed around certain corners, and also having service and carcass on is going to have such a big effect, more so than probably any other race so far this season. Perhaps suppose perhaps maybe Saudi Arabia, if you spin, it can get a bit difficult all of a sudden. But yeah, it's going to be a real challenge with the tyres around here, especially through that turn 3.
Yeah, turn 3, it's a long right-hander. You can, with the right setting, you pretty much take it flat, but the tyre temperatures go through the roof if you try to do it, and it can so easily just catch you out on the rear if the car's not balanced quite right. As we saw with Mike, it upsets the rear, spins it round, and off you go. So the first 2 descent laps then look to be Kaya and Stereogram, so they're both coming across the line now, and it's a 1:22.9 for Stereogram, immediately beaten by 1:22.1 for Kaya. We're going to have a look at the Aston Martin of John Menzies, who's come around the final corner now, and that's a much more representative time, a 1:18.550 from the man who was on the front row in Miami, led in Miami, but didn't win Miami, and I think he'll be looking to sort that out for Spain. Jake, 8 tenths down in P2, and we do have a yellow out.
Yeah, well, we had Barsam lost it going through turn 9, and Cena also went for a spin into turn 3 as well also, but managed to get away with it. But yeah, I think there's going to be quite a few dramas going on in this quali session, I suspect, down in the race. But I mean, look at some of the times that are on the board here, John, already. Down the field, look, you've got 1 minute 31s, 1:32s, 1:40s, all being set. Zinga versus Death has just lost it around turn 3 as well. That is going to be the corner. That is going to be one of the corners, at least, which could catch a few drivers. Now, Jacko's gone off. Is that around turn 3?
That's also turn 3.
It is turn 3 as well, yeah.
We've got Angel versus Steph still struggling to get it back going the right way. He's then just going now. Jacko's going to get going. Jacko in a more familiar position for him so far, as Angel versus Steph has gone again. So this is an example of the surface and carcass setting.
Oh,
you spin once, the tyres go through the roof in temperatures, and it's so easy to just almost immediately do it again, and you just look an absolute fool for doing so.
He's gone off Jacko again there, taking the trip across the grass there, but yeah, this is going to be potentially a very chaotic race, and we said we haven't had a safety car yet in TGP2 this season. It may well be about to come. He just had a crash there. Stereogram. Cena is out. Cena hit Stereogram, who spun at turn 3. And that is an absolute disaster for Cena. And Stereogram's been given a foul play penalty. Stereogram was after spinning, and Cena went into the back of him.
And Neljak kept his foot down through that, and Stereogram's gone off at the following corner as well. So all sorts of drama at turn 3 already then here in Spain. The surface and carcass really playing its effect, and it's already thrown up a shock. Cena up the back of the grid.
What a nightmare for Cena. He's not going to be able to improve it on 1 minute 43.2. Although, to be fair, they're probably quicker than what me and Royal managed to do yesterday in the wet around Spain. But anyway, Neljak will continue. We're watching Neljak now. You said it was Neljak to Sajava who just stormed through that damage, and there's no bother to him. He continued. And he is still continuing, and he's improving right now. It takes a bit too much curve, I'd say, through there. Although, to be fair, I'm pretty terrible around this final sector on this game. So who am I to judge as he goes through the final chicane? You don't want to hit that yellow sausage curve, or else it will beach the car, and you'll be stuck along it all the way through. Now, Jack doesn't do that. Runs towards the line. Does he improve? Yes, he does. He goes up into 4th place.
And he's done that while harvesting his ERS as well, because you look there, I bring the telemetry up, he was on 3% as he crossed the line. I did notice early on in the last sector that the red light was flashing on the car, so if he had the ERS, I think there's a bit more time there for Neljak, so good lap, all things considered, by the Ferrari driver. That also brings me up to the Miami race, how the one car on the hard tyres at the start was the Ferrari. If you think back to Hungary in real life with Leclerc. And funnily enough, that also happened to TGP1 yesterday with Court, who drives the Ferrari. So it's a bit of a running gag that isn't intended, but just seems to keep happening.
Just watching Bazza here. I think Bazza is the only driver really on a lap right now. Neljak isn't on a lap, is he? Because he can probably come back to the pit lane. And we've got the majority of the other guys in the pit lane, or on an out lap, or crashing if you Kaya. But Bazza continues on his lap then. And again, that's another yellow curve there, which you don't want to run along, and you don't want to run along it.
Parser's gone as well.
And Parser is also out the session.
And he's down
inside in the pit lane.
Parser,
he's down in 16.
He has. Baz has invalidated, as you're saying, just touching the line, and yeah, it's been a bit of a hectic qualifying session so far.
It's been an absolutely crazy one. Absolutely crazy qualifying session so far, but it's John Menzies who's got pole position currently by half a second from
We do.
Wheelnuts.
We have Jack Craig on a lap. Jack Craig on a lap at the moment. He's seemingly gone purple in Sector 2, but we know how that goes on this game, the Spectate. How it just seems to say a driver's gone purple when he hasn't. But Jack Craig, this will be his first lap time as well. He's not actually got a time on the board yet, so he wants to get one on there just to get on the leaderboard, jump up a few spots. But it looks like he might genuinely have some pace here as he comes around the final corner. DRS Open now comes to the line. Second place, nearly 4 tenths off pole, but it is the front row for the Ferrari driver at the moment.
Yeah, it's a good lap. Good lap by Jack Craig, and important to get just one lap in really in this qualifying session, considering the amount of mistakes that everybody seems to be making. Jake Davis, I think, is improving though. As he goes through turn 9 here, and he's about to hit the second sector point, and he is 3 tenths up on his lap. So he may well be able to get around Jack Craig's lap time here. If he has a storm of the final sector, he may even manage to approach John Menzies' lap time. Let's see as he gets into this final chicane. Oh, I looked a bit wide through there, but he can still take a bit of speed. But hip, hop, skip and a jump over there even. Around the final corner, he's not beat himself on any curves. He's going to cross the line, and is he going to put it on pole? No, but he goes into second place, 3 tenths now behind John. So we've got John, Jake, Jack, the top 3.
It's the Triple J's, as Mike gets a 5-place grid penalty for clearly indecisive Mackie, and I think that's just happened right in front of Jake, because that's the Alfa Romeo.
Turn 2, yeah, that just happened turn 1, turn 2. So we've got penalties for Kaya, no, Sergio Graham, isn't it, and Mike Noonan who are going to have to take penalties on the grid in this race then. But who's anybody on a lap right
Daniel
now?
Peel will not just beginning one.
Is.
And John Menzies. No, he's off the
around
pace. He's off the pace. I think he's backed it off. Yeah, he's 7.5 seconds down. But Daniel Peel will not on the lap at the moment. P4 in the standings as it is for qualifying. He's in that little group with Jake, Jack and John. There's sort of a half-second gap between 4th and 5th. So he's thought it to be the class of the field so far in qualifying. Daniel Peel that goes around turn 9, keeps it within the track limits. Let's see what his second sector split is, and he's currently 2 tenths up. Oh, there's heavy traffic.
Oh my words, look at this traffic the Wheelnut is coming up to here. I see it on the mini-map, and so can you, John. But I think he actually might just get away with this, you know, because they're all sorts of pushing on. And, well, lucky for him.
Oh, he's just caught
a disaster. Yeah, a bit too much curb possibly on the entry into the final chicane there. Crosses the line, though. Opens the DRS. Does he improved?
He lost time.
Only marginally. He lost all that time, didn't he, in that final sector?
It looked like he took too much inside curve at the first part of the last chicane, and then in the final corner itself, he didn't quite hug the line as he didn't quite hug the apex as much as he probably could have done, and got away with it. Oh, missed it. And John coming round turn 9 with a Mercedes off in front of him, but he's a quarter of a second up.
Yeah, he's absolutely flying. He's absolutely flying right now. He's going to surely improve his lap time here. I think Neljack's also on a quick lap, just a bit behind him, coming around turn 9. But we'll watch John first. Takes a lot of curb on the entry there. Let's see what he's like through the chicane. Oh, he's doing a bit too much at the exit point, and that is an invalidation. And he decides to head into the pit lane then. So Neljack's 4 tenths up here. So this could get him, well, possibly ahead of Speed Sully. Might get him into the 118s if he's fortunate with a nice final sector over these final couple of corners, and that looked perfect. That's probably the best I think I've seen so far throughout that final chicane in this session so far. And Neljack will improve by half a second, but only improves to 5th place in the order.
Yeah, I thought he might have had a little bit of a moment just on the long right hand of uphill in sector 3. I thought he might have just caught a bit too much curve on the back end, tried to snap a little, and he just managed to correct it. It might have cost him a little bit, but you can see how close it is between 2nd and 5th. Did it cost him a tenth? I don't think so. Could it have cost him half a tenth? Possibly. And even just 1/10 would have put him 3rd instead of 5th.
Yeah, absolutely right then. So we've got 5 minutes left in this session. And we're going to be getting to a point where you just have to give everything. And so I'm not giving everything Lunapop was. And he has gone for the spin at turn 3. And decides to use the cheat there to return to track, which personally I'm not a fan of at all. I wish there was a way to turn that off permanently. That should not be allowed in my view. But there is no way to turn it off. And he's managed to teleport himself back in a forward direction. And on he goes then. We'll see if he pits to get some new tyres on, because he would have the chance to do it with just under 4 minutes left in the session. Angel versus Death is out of the session.
And let's just go on board with Bear Grylls. Hasn't set a lap time yet, he's earning 19th. I think he should be getting a lap now. He qualified 7th from Miami, so he's got some decent pace. But he does need to get a time on the board quickly here, because he's only got 4 and a bit minutes left. And he's yet to set a time. He's down in 19th. Even just setting a representative time really could probably put him into the top 10. I think he could be within 2 seconds of John Menzies quite comfortably. Keeps it on with. I thought he was about to go flying off the road there, and honestly, at turn 8, but he's kept it on the track, keeping it nice and tidy. DRS Open down to sector 2, sector 53.4 for the second split. Sadly, unfortunately, we don't have a comparison to the pole time, so we don't really know what that will relate to. But we will find out at the line, the gap for Bear Grylls to the pole. It's looked tidy, but it's not looked the quickest. But sometimes it's just being tidy is what matters, and it gets you up the board, and there you go, P10. So it wasn't the quickest lap, but it was tidy, it's got him up the field, and that's a decent job. I think he might have enough time just to get back to the pits, get a new set of tyres on, and go for a last lap flyer. Jake just coming in now. I thought he was about to start a lap, but that's not the case. Yeah, someone who is though is our poleman.
John is just starting a lap time right now, and he was just ahead. He was just behind Jake, and I assume would have been praying for him to dive into the pit lane. That's exactly what he did. Will Jake be able to get out in time to set one more lap? He should be able to. John, I thought he was going to lose it there through turn 3, but no, incredibly well held and well mastered through there. And look at that, he's a 10th and a half up, nearly 2 tenths up to improve his time and to lower the benchmark even further. This is looking like a very solid lap so far for John Menzies.
Indeed, I'm just wondering to myself, is John using low aero? Because that sector time, if I'm correct, is incredibly quick, and I'm talking sector 1 split quicker than the pole in TGP1 yesterday, but obviously everyone in TGP1 was using high wings for a wet race. I only know that because I was set the fastest time overall in sector 1 in qualifying, and I was running low wings, and it was about the same time. But John pushing on then, he's got a little bit of traffic in front, which will stay out of his way as he gets to the end of the lap. It's been looking very good, very tidy lap. Just runs a bit too much curve again now. I don't think that's the quickest way through the corner, but he's coming to the line. I think he is going to improve, and it is a 1:18.1. He's now 3.5 tenths. He's now nearly 7 tenths clear. I don't see anyone beating that.
Well, yeah, as you say, I mean, you mentioned earlier how close it was between 2nd and 5th, but then there's a huge gap now to the poleman, and can any of these guys who are all about to start the final laps, in fact, Neljac's already on the final lap, can any of these guys get anywhere near that lap time? Let's not forget about Speed Sully as well, although actually he just moved out the way there for Neljak, and will he be able to get another lap in?
He will have enough time.
Yeah, so Jake is on an out lap, Jack's on his out lap, Wheelnuts is on his lap right now, but Neljak is the guy furthest ahead around the track then, and we'll see if he can improve. So literally just a minor improvement here would jump Neljak up, possibly even into second place, but he's going to need a mammoth one if he wants to put it on pole position. Let's see as he goes through turn 9. Oh, he tried to give it everything there. Oh, this traffic, move out the way, Mercedes. He's having to go through between the middle of them both there. He's 2.5 tenths up though.
It's looking good for the front row as it stands with Neljak, and I think he'll be delighted with that. He doesn't really seem to be at the sharp end as much as he used to in DGP2, but this could be one of those days where he just gets back up there and gets himself in a position to fight for the podium, maybe even the win. Comes around the final corner, wasn't as good as his previous round back chicane, I don't think, But he won't matter. He won't care too much about that as he takes P2 on the grid. Still very close through second and fifth.
Wheelnuts had a massive slide through the final chicane there, and he's decided to pit, and that's the shame for him because he may have well just thrown away a front row there because he might have been able to go even quicker than what Neljak did. Jack Craig, he said he's got purple in the second sector here, so he's pushed him. We've got Jake Davis improving.
Oh, he's gone
Jack
round.
spun on the curb. Disaster. And he will also not improve. So like Luna Pop goes into second place again, setting a late, quick lap at the end of the session. But
three temps up.
We've got to watch Jake here.
Oh, he's run wide.
Off the track there, but seemingly that's allowed, and he may well have found a bit of time from that. Is it going to be enough for him to challenge John?
I don't think he's going to find time. I think he was out wide there. He caught the sausage curb on the inside in that new turn 10. It's just pushed him wide, and I think it's going to cost him a little bit. He's coming to the line, and, well, it proves to be wrong because he takes P2. He gets back on the front row, so he was...
Sorry, we just got Jacko coming through, and then Speed Sully, and then that will be it, I believe. So let's see if Jacko can improve. Nearly losing the car a little bit there through the chicane, but it's a good exit, is it? Yeah, he goes down the final corner, opens the DRS with the final pass the line, and actually decides to crash because he obviously wasn't improving. Speed Sully coming around the final corner then, can he possibly improve? He does
time
improve,
not position.
He does not improve position, and he goes and smacks Jacko as well for good measure, and will qualify in 7th place then. So Sully not making much of an not taking full advantage of Dom not being here tonight, really, is he?
Yeah, I think Dom will be looking at some of the results from this and have a bit of a smile to himself because no one really sees the initiative here, apart from maybe Jake. But of course, Jake hasn't really scored anything before tonight, so even if he won both, even if he wins both races, he's still going to be a good 20 points off Dom. So it's literally the best possible result for him, as John takes his second pole. Oh, sorry, is it his second pole? It's not. It's Aston's second pole of the night, but it's his first of the night ahead of Jake, Luna Pop, Neljak, Jack Craig, Daniel Pilborn, Speed Sully in 7th, Jacko, Nooney and Blair Grills rounding off the top 10, although, of course, Mike has his penalty, so Blair Grills will be 9th, and Bazza will round out the top 10 on the grid.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting race then. We've seen how much the drivers have struggled with some of the tyres, temperatures, and going through that turn 3, so we'll see how these guys manage to get on during the race. And it's, of course, it does have to be mentioned that the start here is going to be so important, isn't it? Because if you can get a good launch, you can gain quite a few positions.
Yes, indeed. We've seen it a few times in TGP1 already this season, where just getting a good start lets you fly up through the field. Obviously, the first few weeks, we had the issue with the game where the tyre temps on the start were lower than they should have been. That's now been fixed, so I think a lot more guys are going to have better starts. But
it's a very good point. That will be a big help, won't it, for the guys who may well struggle off the line.
Oh, we got a jump start. John's jumped the start massively. That's astonishing. So he takes the lead. He's away in the lead. He's going to get a penalty. We've got an Aston. We've got an Alfa Romeo off at the back. That's Mike Noon. Jake will have the net lead then. Coming into turn 1, we've got a yellow flag out. Is it a VSC?
I think it is.
It is indeed.
Oh, I hope there's no collisions here or anything. That must be because of Mike Noon dropped it, didn't he, off the start line? But what a disaster for John Menzies then. He could have won both races tonight, but he somehow managed to throw away both of them. And when are we going to get the restart? I have to say, fair play to everybody for managing to react to that VSC. I don't even think he'd really reached the first corner before that was deployed. And just having a quick look here at the positions, Parson managed to gain 4 positions before that VSC. Cena gained 3. So still Cena getting a decent start, even with an immediate VSC. But how did John Menzies do that? How did he manage to jump the start that early? Like, that was incredible, wasn't it?
Maybe it was a case of finger travel, just slipped off the clutch, and with the throttle down, off he went. Disastrous for him. He had a really good chance to grab the championship by the scruff of the throat tonight, and he's thrown it away twice now from what could have been a win. As we get back underway, then VSC back in. The field being led by John, but obviously with the penalty, it's Jake who has the net lead from Luna Pop and Neljak.
Nearly losing it on the curb, but he just about got away with that. But Jack Craig nearly ran into the back of him. But by the way, tyres are very different compared to what they were in Miami, because you've only got Bazza and Indecisive who decides to start the race on the mediums. Everybody else on the softs. Wheels is alongside Jack Craig here, who had to back off the throttle to make sure he didn't help Neljak at the chicane. And Wheeler gets into 5th place, and Neljak again's nearly sliding off the track. How has he managed to keep that one?
I've seen a message pop up from our TGP2 Championship leader. Can John finally get a win this season? No. That's the answer to that. As I think that's in a bit of a delay. We've got an incident at the back of the field.
Seeing at a turn 3 one as well. And that's another close championship contender to Dom. I mean, it's Cena, Sully and John, who are really the 3 contenders right now to Dom. And they're seeming all having a disastrous night, it seems. Certainly having a disastrous Spain, but John does lead, but of course has still to come in to fit the service drive-through, as he's got another car off. It's Danger versus Death. He's also got, I think maybe both the Haas dropped it there at turn 3 on the same lap.
I wouldn't want to be in the Haas pit wall with Gunther Steiner right now. That's what I'd say about that one. It's double trouble. Oh, that's a shame for Luna Pop. He's gone round. He'll get it going again. It's cost him about 7 positions.
Jack Craig here and Jacko. Jacko has a great exit on the chicane, and he's going to try and get through. Lovely move by Jacko there through the right-hander. That was a big risk to make that move, and it worked for him. But is Jack Craig going to come straight back at him with DRS? Yes, he is. And Sully might want to get involved here as well. He might say, oh, but he's going to try and look for around the outside there, but late on the brakes. So Jacko, they touch, and Jacko has to go off the track. Is he going to be fuming with Jack Craig? Surely he rejoins the track. And, well, he cut the corner, but he was forced off. And is he going to have to slow... I think he's had to slow down there to give the position back. Yeah,
and unfortunately for him, I think it's going to cost him 2 positions, because Sully is right there. Sully in the right place at the right time, just to take advantage of that and get the position off Jacko. So Jacko loses 2 for the price of 1 there. I don't think it was... There was no intent now. I think it was very unfortunate. It was just the back end just stepped on the Ferrari. The Mercedes is there and just met in the middle.
Yeah, we got Parser spinning and Blair Gills as well. They're the latest spinners in this race, but they both got going again. But of course their tyres will be absolutely cooked at this stage. And so I think the top 13 have all sort of not had spins so far, but then everybody else has, although saying that, of course Luna Pop also has.
Stereogram is out. He's crashed.
Now, could that be a safety car?
It's a VSC.
It looks like it may only be a VSC. Well, the car is in the middle.
And John.
But John's come in.
Oh, he's coming to take the drive-through, hasn't he? And he's not going to get to because the VSC is deployed.
Well, hang on, let's wait and see. No, I think the pit crew are waiting there,
it's a pit.
So he's going to have to serve his penalty on the next lap. Would he actually be able to serve it on the next lap?
Well, because it's a VSC, this doesn't count as the 3rd lap. It's come out before the end of the lap, so even though he had the intent to pit for the drive-through, because of the VSC, he's not allowed to serve it, so he's just taking the pit stop now, gets the drive-through after, so he has to come in at the end of the next lap from where it goes green. So if it comes in this lap, he has to serve it this lap.
So Jake has managed to get his pit stop done then under this VSC. So has Neljak and Wheelnut and Jack Craig. So they are the 4 drivers who've pitted under this virtual safety car. They're going to have to go a long way now on these medium tyres, but they might be able to take advantage from the fact that they've pitted during this VSC. And this is really the first time this season that the VSC is going to have an effect on a race strategy, I imagine. Blair Gills has retired as well.
Yeah, I think he was on circuit. He's gone off on circuit, so hopefully that doesn't... I hope that doesn't just change it to a safety car. I don't think it will at this point. Oh, Parser.
Parser's got himself a drive-through, but he's spun anyway. The race is back underway, and is Neljak going to go for the move here on Kaya? He's going to have to, because he's just pitted, and it's sort of crucial that he does, but his tyres might not be fully up to temperature, although, of course, all of his tyres might not be fully up to temperature after that VSC, but Kaya managed to get the position back through anyway. So Neljak will want to get this move completed. Luna Pops decides to come into the pit.
John's come in. He's coming for the drive-through. Luna Pop's got a penalty for speeding in the pit. John gets it stopped, so he's not going to get a punishment for that. He serves the drive-through now. It'll be interesting to see where he comes out. Jake away in the lead again, but we've got a good scrap for 4th between Indecisive and Mr. John here. But as well as that, there's a fight for the lead. Sully and Jacko, barely a car length apart, coming into turn 4.
So Wheelnut and Neljak have both made it through then on Kaya. So they're away and clear now, while they, of course, made their pit stops as well. So what can Speed Sully and Jacko do here then? Can they pull away? Can they build enough of a gap so that when they pit, they will be in a good position? We will wait and see. It's going to be really interesting to find out how it all shakes out.
I think they're on for a net P5, P6 here at the moment. Going by the times, as Paz has just left the session, he's out of the race already. So he's called it a day after his drive-through for speed, and Jacko's gone.
On the curb, and well, he's one of the guys who was in possibly a net P5, you said, and I don't think he'll be a net P5 anymore because he's gone for the spin there. And Bazza then moves up into second place, and Bazza starts.
Oh, he's almost gone again. Sorry.
Starts on the medium tyres. Mr. John just made a great move there, I think, but indecisive, but then Indecisive get the position back. And here comes Jake Davis as well. Wow, look at this, Jake Davis. I think he made the right decision to pit when he did, because look, he is absolutely flying through the field here. He's going to be back up into third place, I think, now, because he's going to get past Indecisive.
Indeed.
And he's going to be, what a position Jake Davis is in. He's 11 seconds behind Bazza, who's 2.4 seconds behind Speed Sully, but he will easily retake the lead once those guys pit, surely.
Indeed. We've had a disqualification for Cena. He looked like he was off at turn 3. I think he's got himself beached. And obviously you can't move before a certain amount of time. That's a DQ. So Cena's race has been a disaster. He's done for the day.
Well, I will say this. Credit to Cena for not doing the reset the track thing there, because I imagine it would be quite easy for him to do that. And if he chose not to do that, then fair play to the fella. Barsam has also gone spinning at turn 3, but he is way behind then. So Luna Pop has just pitted. John had his drive-through, didn't he? So, and John's just overtaken Luna Pop there. I wonder if that might have been planned, perhaps, planned move, because Luna Pop is going to have to save a penalty, of course, now, 5-second penalty, and John does not have a penalty. But anyway, at the front, look at this. It was 11 seconds the gap Jake Davis to Bazza at the start of this lap. It's now 9.
And we got a Mercedes to Jacko off, so it's all just continuing to go wrong for the Mercedes. And yet Jake is absolutely flying. We've got a Ferrari off, it's Jack Craig. So Jack Craig, he was looking like he was a net P4. He's now had 2 spins, he's just had a second spin now, so it's all gone wrong for him. John Menzies could still be on for a top 6 here, despite a drive-through penalty.
Oh, look at Indecisive. Mr. John going side by side here once again. Indecisive starting on those medium sides. Mr. John, oh! And well, I was watching that off board, and it looked like he was definitely going round with the spin there, Mr. John, but somehow he did not. He just managed to help
that's brave. He's trying to go on the outside.
Yeah, I think he's going to have to change his undergarments, isn't he, after that one? Because Mr. John has been all over the place on this lap so far. But anyway, Indecisive
and there he goes. I think he's letting Neljak go there, yeah. It's definitely a code brown for that, whereas he slid towards the gravel trap at turn 4. He did well to keep out of the gravel trap, though. He did catch the grass a bit, lost up some time. The cars around him now, it's not his battle. They've already pitted, he hasn't. I mean, Mackie, though, is his battle, but there's just cars in between that have pitted, that are fighting for the podium positions. They want to get through, and he doesn't want to get himself in trouble by getting in a clumsy accident with them. As we've got another car off, I think it's Barsom again, I think he's called it a day. We've got another Ferrari off, that's Jack Craig again. So his race has gone right. We've got an Aston Martin off as well, and that's Luna Pop, so it's all kicking off here.
So yeah, I mean, this anything could still happen in this race, because it's just so easy to lose the car and to go into a spin. As just watching Neljak, is he going to get the move done on Indecisive around the outside here? And someone, does he get a flag out further ahead? I think
it's Barson's retired car.
And so Neljak gets through into 4th place, then ahead of Indecisive, who still gets a pit. And you would think he would just move out the way and let his teammate through. Although to be fair, that's what he should do. Yeah, there's no justification of why he shouldn't really, I suppose. But Wheeloff is fighting for a potential podium if cars ahead will go off. Indecisive is really just holding him up here and is allowing Neljak to pull away.
Yeah, he keeps him up. He could have done that a corner or two earlier, but I guess he was trying to put it in a position.
Well, he doesn't want to probably lose the position to Mr. John, of course, does he?
And he's got himself DRS in the process as well, so they're back wheel to wheel again. Mr. John does make the move to the outside there on the soft tyres compared to Mackie's mediums, as Mackie's just had a huge tank snapper as well.
Yeah.
Speed Sully pits and gets a speed penalty.
5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. So Bazza will take the lead, but he gets to pit, of course. Jake Davis will be in the net lead, of course, as we already, of course, obviously knew that. But let's see where Sully comes out. This will be interesting. And, of course, he will be on the stretch mediums now to the end of the race.
And Daniel Pillwellnut's gone through as well. Mackie's gone through, but he's obviously had to think. He's going to come out ahead of John. So Sully's down to turn 1 now. John is a few seconds back in current P7. So John could still be ahead of Bazza. He'll be ahead of Wilnut. He'll be ahead of Bazza, he'll be ahead of Mackie, the other McLaren, sorry. So, yeah, it's still a possible top 5. As Stereograms left the session as well, he's already retired from the race. But Jake looking very good, and I remember you saying the gap between him and Bazza was 11 seconds, it's now 3.
Yeah, that is incredible stuff, isn't it, by Jake? And I have to say, he has certainly got some serious speed, hasn't he? Certainly in race trim, it has to be said. And of course, as I said, he's usually TGP1 driver, got the game late, been struggling with it. But I think it's clear to see that he's getting better and better at it. And if he does stay in TGP2, Dom will surely have an extra title rival to contend with when he returns next week. But just watching the closest battle on track right now, which is between Mike Noon and Jacko for 9th place. Now, Jacko's tyres are 3 laps, and Mike Noon's are 7. Mike Noon's super late on the brakes there as to go around into that new corner of turn 11, I think it was turn 10 even, sorry. But Jacko getting ever closer.
Indeed, and another thing as well, Jacko, a better performance in the top 10. He's had a struggle so far this season. The 2 cars in front have both got penalties, so he's looking at a top 8, which would be, considering his early season struggles, that's a good result, and it'd be something for him to build on. We've got a yellow flag.
Oh,
I think
indecisive.
Yep.
Yeah.
He's gone for a spin at turn 3. He claims another victim. He gets back going. Obviously, yet to pit. Does need to pit soon, but he's on the mediums, so he had to stay out longer. The early VSC not helping him for his position, but he probably is enjoying being up quite high up the field. Meanwhile, Jake now a second off Bazza.
He is indeed, and Bazza hasn't pitted yet. Oh, Mike Noon nearly losing it, and it allowed Jacko to go through, but Jacko nearly, because as Mike Noon tried to recover, Jacko nearly went into the back of him there and just about managed to avoid him. But Jacko up into 9th then, and Mike Noon now down into 10th with having a massive spot there. So he will have to regroup and try and fight his way back through them. But at the front, here we go. This shouldn't be too difficult, you would imagine. Bazza is going to try and defend it. It doesn't have to make this move, Jake. He can just sit back. I mean, Neljak is 5.8 seconds further behind, so just doesn't want to do anything stupid here. Don't want to be running into the back of the Mercedes here. But he's going to go for the move. Oh my word, they nearly did touch, but somehow kept it out of the wall. And Jake gets into the lead of this race.
Yeah, you can see the difference of grip through turn 3 there. As Bazza, he's trying to hold in front. He runs wide, and Jake is just able to pull the car to the inside, use the superior grip on the fresher tyres to just have the run up the inside, make the move. Didn't need to make the move, but you always like to make the move for the lead and keep it. So I think he'd enjoy that one.
Look at Mike Noon and Jacko again battling here. Mike Noon managed to get the position back on Jacko down the main straight there, and this is where Mike Noon lost it on the last lap, but no such problems this time then, and Jacko can't get back through then. So 2 closest battles on track right now, this one between Mike Noon and Jacko, and the battle for the next 2nd place as well between Wheelnut and Neljak. So Neljak could be on for a fantastic result here, but Wheelnut will want to get at least that 2nd place. Neljak could be looking at a podium.
Now, Bazza is in. He was on the mediums. He's going to go on softs. Let's keep an eye on the gap between him and John on the pit exit, because obviously he's going to be on fresh softs for the last 6 laps of the race. Maybe he could mount a late challenge to steal that top 5 off the Aston Martin driver. As Jacko goes down the inside on Mike there for P8. These two are yo-yoing back and forth for 8th position. It's been a great battle between the two. It's been hard, it's been firm, it's been fair, as Mike is now going to have a go at taking 8th back immediately, having just lost it. DRS open. Jacko covers to the inside. Mike just keeps his line running outside. He's going to have to hold it late on the brakes. He just about has enough of the car ahead to make the move. And that's 8 free gains for the Alfa Romeo driver.
Fantastic racing then between the two of them there, but you mentioned about Basil coming out the pit lane, and he is only 3.4 seconds behind Johnny. He's obviously having to bring his tyres to temperature, but John is going to be on those old mediums, which he pitted on the lap the BSC came out, didn't he, of course, to save a drive through, but then ends up having to make the real pit stop, and he's going to have to try and get to the end of the race with Basil, surely you would imagine, flying on those fresh softs.
And we've got a yellow flag, and it's Daniel P. Wilner in the wall. He's lost his wing.
Jack, and he's lost his front wing. It's a disaster. It's a disaster for Wheelock. The podium chance is surely gone.
Yeah, he's going to have to pit for repairs there. That's thrown away the podium for him. Sully gets onto the podium P3 then. John is up to 4th despite the drive-through, so that's the credible recovery, all things considered. But Bazza is still there. He's now got the top 5. Like we said, maybe he could take off John. He's now got it. He could still a P4 though. That would be a brilliant result for Bazza.
What a result this is potentially going to be for Neljak though. I mean, I just kind of wondered if Neljak's ever won a TGP race before. I apologise if he has.
I'm pretty sure he has in TGP2. I think he's a TGP2 champion in the past. It's just it's the first time in a long time though for Alex being second. Now, of course, Neljak is username.
It's just gone for a spin there. This John's just gone for a spin and has lost a couple of positions because
look at Jacko and Mike. They're 6th and 7th now.
Side by side once again, these two. Fantastic stuff. Fantastic battling between them. And again, they're going to be side by side. This is, of course, where Roy and Jack Haley collided yesterday. But Mike here keeps 6th place for the time being there.
It's worth pointing out as well, Mike, I think, is on the oldest tyres in the field. So those mediums are going to be screaming away as he fights on against the Mercedes. And look at that from Jack. Oh, bit too brave.
He's way off. He's in the gravel trap. He's actually gone way, way too deep there. It did look like a good move, I have to say. I was watching that from off board. It looked like he was going to sweep around the outside, but instead he was sweeping the gravel, and he's going to have to recover from that because Jack Craig is only a second behind, and actually Jack Craig might be able to get DRS here. But then I think Jacko may well get it as well. And Mr. John, who I think had a bit of a moment on this lap, and is down into 9th place right now then, as Jacko once again closes in. Speed Sully, by the way, is gaining slowly on Neljak.
Yeah, he does have a penalty though, Speed Sully. I think it's 5 seconds of speeding. But at the back of the train, that's now falling behind Mike and Jacko's battle is Daniel P. Wilner. He's pitted, and Mr. John and Jack Craig. Sorry. Yeah, both of them have gone round.
Both of them have spun. Mr. John managed to recover quickly. Jack Craig, I think we thought he beached it there on the curb. But that is a disaster then for Jack Craig. He was beginning to close in on those guys ahead, but now he's down in 11th place, and he'll have to be careful with the tyres as well for the rest of the race now. So Speed suddenly closing in on Neljak, as you say, he has a penalty. We've got another yellow flag. I think Jack spun again, hasn't he? Yes, he has.
He has.
That's Jacko closing back in on Mike Noon. Mike Noon does have a 3-second penalty though, of course, so it's not urgent for Jacko.
It could be in the next few laps, because as I was saying right as that happened with the 2 spins, Daniel P. Wilner was at the back of the 5-car train on fresh softs. He's now got 2 of them spun out the way. 2 that have been squabbling away for the last few laps are still together on track, and Daniel P. Wilner's got a straight, clear track to the back of them, and he definitely has the pace advantage. The freshest tyres in the field compared to 2 of the guys on the harder compound on the oldest tyres in the field. Jacko's red ERS light now flashing, so he's running out of power on the ERS battery as he tries to retake what is now 6th position off the Alfa Romeo of Mike Noon. And remember, Mike was facing sideways in the barrier at the start line.
It was indeed, yes. That's it. A bit of weaving going on there, but it's getting a little bit frantic now between these two, isn't it? As you say, especially with Wheelock rapidly approaching. Yellow flags out. I think is that Luna Pop? Yes, it is
Luna Pop,
who has spun off the track then. So 3 laps to go in this race, 2 laps to go. almost. And this is the closest battle then between Jacko and Mike Noonan, and a rapidly closing in wheel nuts who will want to recover some positions after his spin earlier. Is Jacko going to try? Oh my word, he sent one massively, and this time he does not find the gravel, but Mike Noonan might well be able to get back through on the inside, and he does, and he gets back into 6th place. But Jacko totally sent one there, didn't he?
Yeah, very. He's not afraid of late braking his Jacko. That could have been a superb move. He just
spun again.
Oh, you're kidding! At the same place as well.
Last time, yeah.
I was just going to say, he just caught the back of him. You'd be on the DRS of him now, and then that's happened, and he's almost lost it again. So he's out of the equation now. These two have been battling away for a good 5-10 laps. All the cars that have caught out the back of him have crashed. Mackey's, well, that's gone off again at the last corner. Mackey's just been passed by Mr. John, who's recovered the P8 already. And these two have just been going at it, lap after lap after lap, oblivious to the fact everyone around him has been dropping it.
Who hasn't made an error in this race? It's been an absolutely crazy one, as we expected, of course. But yeah, Jacko, of course, don't forget, if he does get past Mike Noonan, he is then going to have to try and build 3 seconds as well. But start the final lap. Jake Davis starts the final lap. But yeah, Jacko's going to have to try and get the move done now, and then just hope Mike's tyres go.
Yeah, another spin for Wilmot as well. He's still P10 despite that. Of course, it's Mike who has the penalty rather than Jacko, so Jacko can sit here and take the position. Mike's got to build 3 seconds.
Apologies, yeah.
Unfortunately, I don't think Mike's tyres are going to do it. He's going to have fun trying to hold him off. I am keeping an eye on the gap between 2nd and 3rd, but it looks like now Jack is doing enough to keep the position anyway, regardless of the time penalty that Sutton may have. A superb drive from now Jack, and it'd be a welcome return to the podium for him. The inaugural TGP Cars champion all the way back in 2015 as well.
So Jacko getting closer, but as you say, yeah, Jacko's going to get to this position ahead of Mike Noonan almost certainly. But I do feel like Jacko will still maybe want to try and get it done on the road as well. You know what these two are like. And there's another penalty for Mike Noonan, so it confirms it even further. But yeah, maybe Jacko will still try and go for some mad move just for the fun of it.
Oh, he will.
As Mr. John's gone spinning on turn 3 on this final lap as well. So you're going to lose a load of positions. Jake Davis is about to cross the line though, and he is going to win another race here in TGP2 tonight. He takes victory in Spain, and if he stays in this TGP2 championship, he could be well in contention for it. Nel Jack is going to come over in 2nd place. Speed Sully will get 3rd, and he will hold on to 3rd place. John Menzies will, after that drive-through, come home in 4th. Basil will be 5th. But then you've got Jacko and Mike Noonan here, and Jacko's actually made the position now.
I think Mike's tyres might have just cried enough because Jacko was ahead before the braking zone at the end of Sector 2. So Jacko will take P6, Basil P5, so good showing from the Mercedes. That's more the sort of the form they had last season, the last few seasons, the two of them. As Mike goes for a spin. And that just sums it all up.
If he's not careful, he might end up losing another position here to Indecisive. Indecisive's got a penalty, but
I think he's got him. I think he's going to get him before the line.
He is, yeah. Well, it's going to be 3 seconds.
Oh, I think he got it.
He will. I mean, but Mike Noonan had a 6 second penalty. Indecisive was 3 seconds. So
yes.
And even with that, he still would have had the position by
2,000 of a second.
Yeah. So, well, Mike Noonan has only got himself to blame there. I think he tried to go for a mad one on Jacko at the end and beat himself on the curb.
Well, obviously, that's 2 of TGP2's most daring drivers, I'd say, who go for the overtakes, who make the crazy moves to go for it, having a brilliant power race long. It was a joy to see between them both. Jacko with what might be his best result this season so far. Mike, good recovery from being backwards in the wall on the first lap of the race. They finished 6th and 8th for the end.
Mr. John is coming to the finish line here like he's controlling it on a keyboard or something there. I think he's just been so careful with the tyres as he was coming round the final sector there. But there he goes in 10th place then. And he gets driver of the day as well for good measure. So well done to Mr. John for that.
I think there'll be a few celebratory drinks for that one. But a few celebratory drinks for our race winner, Jake Davis, 2 in a row tonight. An emphatic win here in Spain. Could have easily, like, just going on about the jump start from John, it's so easy if you see that to react to the car jumping and following him, but Jake did superbly to not do that. Kept his cool, kept it nice and tidy, a comfortable win in the end, as he takes his second win of the night here in Spain, ahead of...
It's crazy, isn't it, really? Like, what? How did John manage to jump the start like that? That was just insane.
That will be one of the big questions to ask, and I'm sure we'll bring that to you next week after we find out tonight. But here are the rundown of the results then. Jake Davis with his second win of the night ahead of Neil Jack, who will be delighted with that podium. Speed Sully, another solid result, keeping it out of trouble aside from the speeding penalty. John, well, he had pole, he jumped the start, he still got fourth. That's a good recovery. Bazza doing well in fifth, bit quiet in the end, but may have made a mistake in the last few laps as well, because he was 11 seconds off John in the end instead of 3. Jacko raced long battle with Mike Noon, won the battle, won the war, P6 for him. Mackie kept it out of trouble towards the end, did have a little spin, but others fell by the wayside too. He takes 7th ahead of Mike, who lost out the last lap to Mackie. Daniel P. Wilnut spun it in the wall, unfortunately, while in the podium position. Finishes P9, a difficult end to the race for him. Mr. John rounds out the top 10. Kaya, Jack Craig, Luna Pop, Angel vs. Death round out the finishes and the points, with Barsam, Cena, Parser, Blair Grills, and Stereogram all failing to reach the checkered flag. What a hectic night of racing here in TGP2. Fun battles throughout. A very enjoyable evening of racing. What's your takeaway from this, Dan?
Well, my takeaway is that really on a night where John Menzies could have made big inroads with Dom not being here, he may well. I haven't got time right now to work out the points standings after tonight, so you may well have took the lead of the championship, or possibly maybe Sully might have done, but still I don't think any of them have took as much advantage as they could have done coming into the races tonight, and Dom, I imagine, will be quite happy with how that's gone.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think Dom would have been looking at results and be pretty pleased with the way the orders ended up in both Grand Prix. That brings us to the end of the TGP2 action for tonight. I've been John Luke Taylor. This has been Dan the Man alongside me. From us both, it's a good evening to you all, and to see you again when TGP2 returns. Good night.